Let's look at the next. Let's look at the next. Demonstrate understanding of tools of inquiry. You didn't see the lab part of this, but frankly, the lab was like a worksheet, follow the directions, which a lot of student-teacher worksheets are, follow the direction kind of thing. I didn't see any of that. So I might leave it blank because I didn't see it, or because it was a lab, I might give it a 1. Because it was supposed to be a lab and it was supposed to be inquiry. I don't know. Marty, what do you think? I got to go first this time. What do you think?
Well, for a lot of the students, it was inquiry, because they hadn't had before, and from the introduction, I don't think that they got it then, and so, and we actually had a lot of students put the latitude numbers and directions and the longitude, numbers and direction mixed up.
So what would you give them? A 1 or a 2?
I guess I'd give them a 2, but I'm borderline still.
That's okay. There's wiggle room between within a 2. I mean,
especially with the word inquiry. I mean,
right. There's a lot of wiggle room in inquiry. Right. Because frankly, I think Marty and I were talking about 2 different things.
Yeah, we all have a different.
And we're science majors, so I expect if you're not a science major, you're going to have another interpretation.
Yeah, the lab wasn't set up for any.
So I just want to say the other issue with this category is if you're doing music people and I'm supervising, I have a whole different view of a person who has a PhD, a doctorate in music education. Okay, it's different. Our view is different, and so I want my scores to be consistent. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Okay. When I go in, I want my scores to reflect the same beliefs over and over. This is what the program wants. They have to meet expectations to graduate. Imagine at the end of your student teaching that you meets expectations in every category. Just imagine it. Okay, but you're probably not going to.
So are these forms, if they're formative versus summative, it seems like the summative you have to address all of them.
Right.
If it's a formative, then you can leave ones blank. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think you can leave them blank even if it's summative.
There's nothing to say that this is a formative or a summative.
Right. I think.
Except with the date.
It's going to be, it'll be the date. Yeah. But you got that? I mean, we could put formative and summative on there.
Well,
that's possible.
But we'd only turn in the summative, right?
No, we're going to turn them all in. Okay, because they're going to go into a statistical database, and we want to manipulate and transform the results to look for similarities and differences between them.
So if it's a formative, it seems like you should have possibly something about what the lesson is? Or what is it that you're observing?
The lesson plan. You have the lesson plan.
That's stapled to it, or something.
Well, in front of you, you have the lesson plan, right?
Okay.
We don't want the lesson plan. That's not going to go.
I don't mean a lesson plan. I just mean a topic for what it is that you're observing.
This is for you, right? This is for the school to assess.
That's what I'm saying.
This is not for necessarily assessing individual students. Is that what it is? I guess that's why we're having this discussion about. We're a little bit confused about. You're using it to collect data for overall your
program accreditation.
Right. So this is not necessarily for the students. This is for big data collection
for the program.
So this isn't the tool we would use to confer with students?
It is.
You can use it, but I think they're using it for a different tool.
All we're going to do is fill this out today. You're not going. We could figure this out in the next 3 months. How, based on your feedback today, we can discuss its future use in the fall. But right now, we have to collect summative data on the students, and frankly, we know what grade they're teaching in, and we know what subject they're teaching in, and we want to know how their performance is in the classroom. It doesn't matter what the lesson is to us. It doesn't matter if they had a bad day.
Okay. Well, but if it's
there was a
summative,
fire
then we
alarm.
address all of these. If it's formative, we don't. And so I guess at least you could circle, on these. For right, because you can fill out more than one.
I think it helps in a form. I've observed the forms from Missoula and Billings and MSU.
Yeah.
And I don't remember whose, but it helps to have a line on here that says this is the first, second, third, fourth, or final observation.
We used to have this kind of rubric. I'm just talking about your 1, 2, 3 scoring. And we kind of ran into some problems with validity when 3, which ended up translating into the grade, and I know right now you're just collecting data, but looking down the line, 3 will translate into the grade. With 3, it's only can be applied to superstar performance. And that's why we went to basic and proficient. The anxiety of teachers went way down when we did that, and I felt like our assessments were a lot more valid. So that's just an observation.
I was going to make that same comment. In our current final eval, we have not demonstrated for 0. Maybe we need a 0 on here. Unsatisfactory 1, basic 2, and proficient 3. I like that language.
If it's not present, there will be no mark. All you're doing is making a check, and I would try to resist the 1, 2, 3 thing. And the grading at this point. Assessment is not evaluation. Assessment is not evaluation. We need to assess the student performance in the classroom. We also need to give grades. They're not the same.
Cynthia, did you have something?
And I've had student teachers for quite a few years, and that form that I just filled out today, I think it's real detrimental for the student that there's a 0 on there. I don't think that there's...
The one we're using in the classroom?
Yeah, that I filled out. Yeah, that's online.
Yeah, you know,
and I'm going,
nothing's perfect.
here's my middle school rubric stuff, and we started out with a 5-point rubric, and we decided to use a 4-point rubric because there's no middle of the road. They're either,
sure,
you know, proficient or nearing proficient, and it's my own personal thing. When I get one with 3 of them on there, 3 ratings, I always want 4 because you have to commit. We found that teachers always just circled the 2 because it was easy. Yep, they're there, and you have to make more of a commitment if it's
I think that is a legitimate principle of evaluation of students. Yeah, I agree with you. We're not saying that a 3 equals an A at this point, and we're not trying to commit to bad or good. We're trying to find out if our students meet expectations. That's the main issue, is meeting expectations. We really like to be able to prove that to the crediting team.
So let's go back to Indian education for all, because I agree that it fits a grade. I keep getting student teaching environments that I walk into to evaluate, and they'll say, well, we don't have to address that because we don't have any Native Americans in our class. And I just want to go, no, and so we go through the whole rearrangement.
Right.
Which takes care of the 0 issue, and a lot of times, if they'll give them a 0, and they say, well, we never gave them a chance to teach it, that's not fair to them. They always have a chance to teach it. Am I understanding that correctly? Because they're expected
for all. It's not for Indians.
Correct.
It's for all.
And it's, all right, so if we put it on this assessment, or no, excuse me, this is not an assessment, this is it's not an evaluation, sorry. Okay, so if we put it on this assessment, what you're really talking about is the way they address Indian education for all in their classroom is below, meeting, or exceeding. There is no option there for not addressing, which is a clear indicator to the student.
There's no score in that.
That they have no choice but to address it.
There's no, if you observe them 5 times during the semester, and there's never anything in there about, and I don't mean necessarily teaching about Crow, but if there's nothing in there related to Indian education for all, which is a bigger idea, I think, then they didn't do it in 5 times. And you know what? The students know they didn't do it, and you know they didn't do it, and their cooperating teacher knows they didn't do it, and they didn't do it. There's no score. It's not going to be good for them. They have to do it sometime and show us.
So then you put a 1, because that means indicators not observed.
And I hate
So I guess that's what my problem is. It says indicators not observed means I didn't observe it, I'm going to give them a 1.
And I don't even want to give them a 1.
According to this assessment.
Because they didn't.
Yeah, but you can't add a category.
I know.
So, as
Hence
far
the
as what
question.
this assessment says, it says it's a 1.
That's unobserved.
Okay.
I'm,
Yeah.
you know, that's the way it's set up, right? It's
Yeah.
not a 0, there's no 0.
That's why I threw it out. I need to hear what y'all are
Or put it in A or something on this lesson, I don't know.
Michael, I'm confused.
Let me think about this. This is,
I don't wanna put a 1.
so you would like 1 to reflect that they did a really bad job.
Unsatisfactory, or
Yeah,
yeah.
they tried, but
Well,
they tried, but it didn't work.
I guess that's that whole middle ground thing too, the same thing. There's gotta be a not observed, observed but poorly, observed, met expectations, observed, and exceeded expectations.
I like
So there's not like the 5-point and the 3-point gives you, well, the middle ground thing is a tough call. It's, you want to give them credit for doing something well or doing something poorly or not doing it at all.
Yeah.
I understand that.
You want to accurately represent that. And I don't feel like
Not
one would
observed.
be in that case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I think because you have below expectations and indicators not observed, that's literally 2 categories in the same place.
Yeah, I agree. When it comes down to the program assessment, what they want, it could be just 1 or 2. It could be doesn't meet expectation, meet expectations. It
Right.
could be that simple.
That's right, because it doesn't matter if you exceed if you're talking about the program.
I agree with you. And I would err in that. I would reduce it rather than make it.
If you're talking about a program assessment.
Yeah.
And then we were just talking about it, if you're assessing a program, why do you have a student name on there?
Because we have to, because we want to be able to make claims about student development in the program.
Okay,
And
that's all.
Can't we use number, the ID number instead?
that is there. That's what the GID is. That's the student number. We will
And
not
that's
be
what
using
we
anybody's
use.
names.
Right.
But the issue is a practical issue, and that is I'll just say, in the past, there's been confusion about which assessments belong to which people.
Right.
And who filled them out. Even the people filling out the form didn't put their name on it. We want to know who did it. So that's why it's there. It's a real practical, we need to identify the data with real people.
Will teachers fill it out differently if their ID number's on it but not their name? You know, the nurturing aspect of many teachers would perhaps, if their name wasn't on it, would be.
Inflation of the
But
scores.
We're not talking about nature of teaching here. We're talking about whether the student demonstrated the behavior.
But that is exactly what I'm saying, because that is a factor in authentic data. I mean, if you want real authentic data, you look at the behavior and not the child.
Well, I'll just say that this is not going to be the only piece of data, okay, that we're going to collect. And if I wanted that data, I'd want to look at a videotape. And somebody sooner or later is going to want to look at a videotape on the accreditation team. They're going to want to be able to take this and look at a videotape and say that, yeah, these scores look like what I just saw in the video. We're not there now. We're not going to do that in the next 3 weeks. We're just going to fill this out on the students and for every student and see what we got.